Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Current Economy and Investment Insights. And today we have Paul Munichel from Ameriprise Financial, as we usually do, as our co-host. Today being September 28th, 2020. Paul, you have a bit of information to share what happened last week. And when you're finished with that, Ameriprise Financial has also shared with me what is taking place as of this morning.
All right, great. Let's begin. Today's topic is death and taxes, and even higher taxes. Let's dive in. So Benjamin Franklin is credited with giving us that famous quote. In this world, nothing is certain except death and taxes. Indeed, unfortunately, we can all relate to that. The Congressional Budget Office released its annual long-term budget outlook last week, and to no surprise, the outlook was not pretty. Government debt levels were already high coming into 2020 and projected to go much higher in the years ahead. The pandemic situation and the necessary response has propelled debt levels much higher and, of course, placed the long-term outlook on an even more worrisome trajectory. The Congressional Budget Office forecasters now expect government debt outstanding and held by the public to reach 98.2% of GDP this year. And by 2050, the year 2050, the figure is expected to reach 195%. Prior to the pandemic, in January 2020, the CBO had projected U.S. government debt levels as a percent of GDP to end this year at 80.8%. So obviously a big increase there, and reach a level of 80.2% by the year 2050. It may come as a surprise that the updated projections actually benefit from lower interest expense expectations as a percent of GDP, given what are expected to be lower interest rates and higher Treasury ownership on the part of the Federal Reserve. There are only three levelers available to correct this situation. One of them is higher revenue, which is taxes, lower spending by the government, or stronger economic growth. Given the magnitude of this problem, any effective solution will almost certainly require some combination of all three. Stronger economic growth is, of course, the best option, but it's also the most difficult to achieve via policy. Tax rates are already scheduled to move higher in the years ahead, as some of the cuts implemented via the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 are scheduled to expire, mostly on the individual side of taxes. These changes are already factored into the CBO projections, and in the years ahead, elected officials will need to consider additional sources of revenue for government, i.e. raising your taxes, as well as potential spending cuts that would help to put the government finances on a sustainable long-term path. As we've mentioned previously, however, the spending cuts do not necessarily need to be absolute. Lowering the trajectory of spending increases for certain programs via actuarial adjustments, that has been done in the past and can provide powerful leverage to reduce future outlays. Unfortunately, such changes also require powerful political fortitude. So, not the greatest news when it comes to taxes, but a lot of viewers probably were already aware of this.
Right.
The situation is pretty dire due to all the increased spending and handouts from COVID and bailouts. There's another one potentially coming. We got to pay for it somehow. And
Right. COVID has really stripped the finances.
It's hurt the economy. It's hurt the finances.
Yeah.
We're bailing people out, which is needed, but money just doesn't come out of the sky. So taxes, increased economic growth, which we're hoping for, and hopefully the government can reduce some spending in the right areas, and we'll see.
Yeah, we can hope we can recover nicely from that without having tax increases that are going to really affect the low-income earners.
Well, they handcuff individuals, and then
Wow.
that dampers economic growth. If you have less money in your
Everything. Yeah,
pocket because
sure.
of taxes,
Right.
how do you spend as much? But
Well, this morning, Ameriprise Financial, as I had mentioned, had shared this information to you for this morning. S&P 500 futures are pointing to gains at the open as the index looks to snap a 4-week losing streak.
that'll be nice. I mean, we had a positive day last week. Last week was very mixed. We had up days, down days, vice versa.
Right.
We got 3 days left to finish out the month, hopefully positively. So today's gains will be warranted if we can hold on to them.
And majority equity indexes in Europe are higher by nearly 2%, with a rebound in global banks driving the gains. And WTI crude oil is holding near $40 a barrel, but remains on pace for its first monthly decline since April. It's been a while.
Banks improving is a good sign. Banks has been a sector that's been lagging. If the global banks are increasing, like you said, that's good news. Oil prices staying about where they were, that's debatable how that's going to affect things. But
There's so much volatility on oil. I mean, what we're saying today, tomorrow, it could be severely changed.
yeah, but it's been primarily lower ever since
It
COVID
has.
because the usage is way down.
Way
I mean,
down.
people, the flights aren't what they used to be. The
Right.
travel isn't what it used to be.
Exactly.
So oil's down. It actually needs to rebound a bit, but we'll see.
And just a little piece of information away from the finances. Cleveland Cliffs has agreed to buy ArcelorMittal USA for $1.4 billion in cash and shares.
Mergers and acquisitions is usually can be a good sign that there could be economic strength coming. It's not always that way, but
Right. And the year to date, I wanted to share with you, Paul, the percentages for the S&P 500 is a plus 3%. The Dow Jones is a minus 3%. And NASDAQ is a plus still 22%.
that Dow has
Year to
been
date.
struggling all year. I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we finally posted a positive number on our show,
Yes.
and it's been negative the last few weeks since then. But
Right.
if we get that rally today, which we think we might get based on the futures, that'll help bring us closer back to break even on the Dow.
Okay, you stay with us. We'll be right back. We're going to be talking about your money, a topic that Paul's going to be talking about, buy or rent, and for home properties, that is. And let's hear what he's got to say. Stay with us. We'll see you in a little bit. And we're back with the topic today in our show, Your Money, is going to be buy or rent home properties, and Paul's going to fill us in. Take it away, Paul.
Thanks, Ron. You know, owning a home is an important life goal for many Americans, yet buying a home is not always the best financial decision for everyone. In some life situations, renting is a more prudent choice. So if you or your loved ones are contemplating the buy or rent decision, let's consider a few points I'm going to make today before you make your move. Point number one is, how likely are you to stay in that community? Americans move far more frequently than they used to. If you won't be staying put for long, renting is fiscally wise. Closing costs add up, whether you're buying or selling, especially when you do so in a quick succession. By contrast, renters typically only have to shell out damage deposit, which generally can be recouped at the end of the rental agreement. Point number two, are prices stable, falling, or rising in your area? So look at the trend in home values in your area to assess whether buying a house is a good investment. Consider the reputation of local schools and hospitals, plan development, and other factors that can affect resale value. Point number three, is your rent going to waste? Rent paid to a landlord can seem like a throwaway expense because renters gain no equity in the arrangement. However, if the roof over your head is adequate and the cost is less than you could adequately find in owning something in the housing market, you can get ahead of the game by investing the difference. A handful of states offer some type of rental tax credits. If applicable, factor this into your tax savings, into your number crunching at the end of each year. Point number 4, are you ready for the responsibilities of home ownership? Some people love doing work, all the work it takes to run a household. Others, not so much. It takes skills, willingness, and time in your schedule to be your own handyman or gardener. But if you don't care for the workload, or your work day doesn't permit much free time for puttering around the house, you'll need to set aside additional funds to hire someone to do the work or risk the devaluation of your investment. And point number 5, will a home purchase leave you cash poor? This is one we unfortunately see often. Many Americans count their home equity as part of their retirement savings, yet the market crash of 2008 is one reminder that it's risky to pour everything into your home and neglect other forms of saving. Economies can falter, neighborhoods can change, natural disasters can occur, and property taxes can go up, increasing the cost of your home ownership. In conclusion, individual circumstances are going to dictate whether home ownership makes economic sense. A financial professional can help evaluate the readiness to afford monthly mortgage payments and other expenses of home ownership, including the cost of home ownership maintenance. Avoid rushing your decision to ensure your next step is a sound one. I can't stress this enough. You should want to talk to someone before you make a decision. Interest rates are low and home prices are rising because of that. Don't feel the need to rush into a decision. Take your time, evaluate it from a financial and a tax standpoint, and make your decision wisely.
You need to have a professional person assist you in these decisions.
Yep, and if you have a financial advisor, that's great. If you don't have one or are looking for a second opinion, feel free to give me a call directly, 708-226-3412.
Good topic, Paul. Thank you for bringing that in. For Paul Munical with Ameriprise Financial and myself, Ron Jankowski with Channel 4 and Palos Heights, we wish you good investment day.